Of all the things that I am and I've done in the past, really the reason I'm here right now is because I'm one of you. I'm just a user of this vendor's software, trying to make it work more efficiently, save my practice money, make my doctors happy. And it's true, back in 2004 when my group, we said we really want to do an EMR and a practice management system, they said, okay, I can pilot it, but if I succeed with it, nobody would believe that they could also succeed with it. So we literally took the most senior member, I won't say oldest, most senior member of our practice, and who was not computer literate, and we piloted it together. And then based upon our decision to move forward, the rest of the group bought into it. So that's not a bad idea when you're thinking about trying to sell people in your practice on your EMR. I've generally found that after implementing about 7 different EMRs, about a third of the doctors are like it, a third are completely opposed to it, and there's a third, the independent voters, which are swing votes. And you have to have the weight of numbers on your side. You have to have the majority on your side once you implement in order to make the process successful. Because if more than 50% of the doctors don't want to do it, then you're going to be in a quagmire. So the talk I'm going to give right now, this is a completely new talk, never given it before. You'll be the first people to see it, maybe the last people to see it, depending on reviews. I want to keep it really pretty informal, so if you have questions, please raise your hand or shout something out. A caveat is that what I'm going to be talking about is the templates on version 4.4. There aren't a lot of differences between 4.4 and 5 and etc., but there may be some subtle differences. It's very interesting when I listen to Steve's talk, a lot of the stuff about the automatic flow of plan information and being able to jump in and out of the note to get things done. That's stuff we've already accomplished in 4.4, and those ideas you can use going forward in 5.0 and 5.1. I'd also like to say, hearkening back to Mr. Anderson's talk yesterday, I thought that was an excellent talk. A lot of what I'm going to say repeats some of his information, even though he didn't talk about the specifics of running your EMR. A lot of the conclusions he's come to are very true, and he could only have come to them if he's been through a lot of bad implementations and failed implementations. And I haven't heard an industry analyst in many years speak the truth like he did. However, on the talk that he did after that on healthcare reform, I didn't agree with anything. So he's not still here, is he? All right, so let's get started. So I'm going to talk about automating clinical information flow, and this is one way to leverage the EHR. How many people on the EHR? So a lot of people, almost everybody has practice management. About half have an electronic medical record system. In this room, of course, in the United States, as he pointed out, only about 4% are really using all the features. The goals, of course, our goal is to improve your efficiency. That's my goal. That's what the practice expects from me. We're going to review existing and future information flow paths. So this is going to be conceptual. It's important to have a conceptual foundation so that you can then try to put it into practice. Theorize how to improve clinical information flow and describe how to implement efficient and automatic clinical information flow. And hopefully there'll be points in the talk where it'll just be, you'll be amazed, I hope. Because if you're already doing this, then you're beyond where I sit. So here's a modern written progress note that you might see sometimes in a doctor's office, more likely in a hospital or a dialysis clinic. The note part is on the right side, and the orders part is on the left side. And it's actually all on one page. Here's a patient that has been lightheaded. Objectively, he takes some blood pressure medicines, and his blood pressure is now 90/50. So my assessment is the blood pressure is too low, and then if I'm a doctor practicing in the old world, in the paper world, I write down I'm going to reduce blood pressure meds. I'm going to recheck the blood pressure and make sure he's dehydrated. And of course, I rewrite that in the orders section. There's already some major redundancy here, and if I want to increase my efficiency, I can save myself a couple sentences by writing C orders. Everybody understands this, right? A lot of doctors still don't do this, even in the paper world. So you can get rid of redundancy in the paper world by avoiding restatement of what's already been documented or rewriting something that's been written for a new purpose. Because when that patient leaves, not only did I write that I'm going to check their blood pressure and I ordered that I'm going to check their blood pressure, I'm going to give them a note. You need to come back in and check your blood pressure. I can do all that with one stroke of my pen. Then there's this whole other realm of redundancy, and that's redundancy that occurs between encounters. For instance, the past history. You know, once you have your patient and you've done the intake and they fill out their forms for your practice, a lot of that information doesn't change. The fact that they have diabetes or hypertension, that's probably going to be on their chart for the rest of their life. So why rewrite that? And actually in the paper world, we don't often rewrite it, but we don't handle it efficiently either. Also, ongoing plans for their current condition, you know, that doesn't change very often unless something new comes out or something acutely changes. Also, as medical history flows, things add to it, and that should add to your documentation history. In the paper world, we use separate sections of the chart to flow forward. I'll explain that in a minute graphically. So here's the modern progress note world. We have our nice note in August, and unfortunately, currently, you know, it has almost no relationship except it's back farther in the chart to September, and then by the time we get to October, that September note is already faded in our memory, and the August note, you know, that probably has critical information in it, but it's gone. There's two types of information flow that we're going to talk about today. I want you, again, conceptually think about this. We are going to actually look at screenshots of the application down the road, and I'm going to show you how you do this. There's point of care information. Point of care information flows out of the encounter to different places, like to other doctors and to labs. Longitudinal information is kind of this cloud of information that is always surrounding the patient. Allergies would be a classic example. You need to not have to go somewhere to see their allergies. You should always see their allergies all the time at any point in the chart. Past medical history is another one of those kind of clouds. So here's how modern charts work. For those of you, I'm sure you still have paper charts, who still have paper charts. You've got a problem list. Maybe that's on the front of the chart. You've got a med list that maybe is a couple file folders deeper in the chart. And those are updated independently. And maybe you have a past medical history section, I don't know, or a social history section where you're updating whether the patient smokes or not. The problem is that these aren't synchronized. If you put a new past medical history item on the patient's past medical history tab, that data needs to be on the problem list, but the studies have shown that our problem lists aren't very good. In fact, medication lists are not very good either. And in the electronic world, at least the last time this was studied, even electronic med lists are good about 50 to 70% of the time. So we're not accurate with our information. This whole idea that people have been talking about, where you can go to a central website to pull what other doctors have done with the medication list and pull it forward, that's going to be a huge help once it gets going.